Hello, everybody. I'm so excited today to introduce you to Susan Gotti. She is an incredible leader in the consulting space, especially in the area of training. And this is an area where, there's so many coaches out there who are making programs that try to teach people how to do things. But often I've seen coaches sometimes just do horribly at trying to accomplish what they want to do to bring about that transformation. And Susan's really great at showing how to create transformative training programs that actually bring about a change. And she's blown my mind time and time again about just thinking differently about how I can be someone who can actually help someone through training. So I'm so excited, Susan, to have you here. And a little bit more background. Susan has a lot of corporate experience helping some of the big name corporations in America with their training programs. So just incredible experience. And today we are going to talk about how to open doors to meaningful conversations that grow your business. So this should be something practical for all of us, whether we're a consultant or we're like a health professional or speech pathologist looking to expand our practice and even maybe go into coaching. So Susan, thank you so much for being here. And if there's anything I left out, please share anything else about yourself that you'd like the group to know about you.
Oh my gosh. I'm 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 red at this point, right? That was such a glowing recommendation. Thank you so much. And you've actually made my day, because I believe the worst thing about training is that it's boring, it's not engaging, and it's informational. And what we really want is for people to take the information that you're giving them and to create some sort of change or some sort of transformation with us. And I have a little litmus test that I always know whether my information is actually creating the start of the change I know can come. And you said the words that I long to hear, which is, she blows my mind. She makes me think differently, right? And I know you've used these words in the past if you didn't use them here, but you've said to me, I feel like I get a paradigm shift every time we talk.
That's
So
so
that's
true.
the goal of information. So if you walk away with nothing else today, my friends, it's not about what you know, and it's not about telling people what you know. Information is about disrupting what people believe so that they have space to open up and receive something new. And so I'm unbelievably excited to share a unique piece of my expertise today, because not only am I a long-term training person and I've worked for major corporations and all those good things, but I'm a business owner, I'm a consultant owner. And I have to tell you, I would have never believed that was for me. I was a school teacher, and I took a huge leap at one point and I got into corporate education, and I would have thought I would have retired there. But life had other plans for me, because I got laid off of maternity leave with my
What?
son. Yeah, crazy, right? Story for another day. And I found myself in this place where I no longer could operate or function in that environment, and I needed to create a business for myself. So I want to start by just sharing a
And
couple of
and
crazy
honestly,
statistics. You want to answer? Yeah.
I think if you stayed in corporate, the world would be missing out on a lot.
Oh
You're
my
probably a
God.
lot
Thank
more
you so.
free, right? To
Thank you.
to actually bring change.
Yes. I mean, the leaps that I've gone through in for myself and in my business and in my growth over these years, like for the longest time, it was the accidental entrepreneur. Maybe some of you are like that, right? I never really believed that I would be anything but someone who worked for someone else. Um, and then I, needed to believe that not only could I work for myself, but I had to figure out how to actually grow a company. And quite frankly, I didn't know much about business. So I had to go back and I think this is actually how you and I met, but I really needed a foundation in business acumen. And I was in this program called The Unstoppable Entrepreneur, and I got 2 years worth of some of the most dynamic and amazing training in how to become a successful business owner. And I don't think I would have lasted all this time without that. I certainly wouldn't have been able to kind of rise up to them that next level again, which is the exciting thing about training, right? This is why I'm so passionate about getting back into corporate learning. I spend a lot of time over there because I still feel like it's very informational over there, right? The consultant and the coaching and that online space, if you don't get people results, you don't have a business. So you have no choice but to figure out really quickly how to get people results. It's different on the corporate side.
Yeah.
So
And it's not just, as you said, overwhelming them with a ton of information. You have to be much more strategic about it.
oh my gosh, even like as a long-term training person, I can't believe how much relearning I had to do to make things succinct enough that people could grasp them, could move with them. And it goes right into this conversation around how do you use training as a way to make meaningful connections? Because I have a couple of statistics that I think might shock maybe you, maybe, but definitely some of your clients who are either watching now or might be catching this on the replay. But I'm going to give you a percentage question. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm
So
curious.
according to the US Bureau of Labor, what percentage of consulting firms fail within the first 2 years of business? Do you want to take a guess?
Ooh. I seem to be, I am curious on this. Now, I've been trying to figure out how many businesses fail the first year, because I've heard anywhere between 20% to about 80% fail. So
Yes, so you're kind of right in the mark, right? So this is specific to consulting, and it does change a little bit as you add in other industries, but 80% of consultants that start their business no longer have that business within 2 years. 80%.
wow. So they're on the high end.
Yes, it's on the high end. Now, here's my own little take on that. I don't believe consulting and coaching is for everyone. So I do believe people ultimately find other ways, go work for bigger coaches. I, I I think the message that I want here is that there's a huge dropout rate, but I do believe that everybody ends up where they want to be or supposed to be. So you can never go wrong for starting that first business, because it's always going to lead you to the next thing, right? Start it, fail forward, make the mistakes, right? Because it's going to lead you to that next innovation. And I also believe this contributes to such high failure rates across the board, is that we're so afraid of failing, and we're so afraid of the embarrassment and of the shame that comes along with that, that we isolate ourselves from the very people, resources, and things that could actually open up the door to us. Again, huge reason why I love to do this type of training. Because I don't know about you, Jay, but if I didn't have my network, I don't know what I'd do.
It's true. I lean all the time on friends who have saved me.
All the
Their
time.
expertise. Yeah.
On their expertise. And the braver, and anyone listening, this is when you want to write down, the braver I get about admitting what I don't know, the better my business gets. Isn't that nuts? You would think it was the exact opposite. So I think that 80% number is so high because people are failing in silence. They're suffering in silence, and they are cutting themselves off from the very people, resources that could actually help them to achieve their goals.
And I think that's a really big point, if you're fine, stop it there, because
Please jump right in.
There's this huge temptation as an entrepreneur to try to be the master of everything, because so much is on you. You start off with just you, so you try to be good at this, try to be good at that, try to figure it all out. But there's just not enough hours in a day to figure it all out. And like in the online market space, it's constantly evolving and changing too.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've ever been in a situation, anyone in the business, I'm sure you can put in the chat or put in the comments if you totally experienced this, when you almost have this moment when you're like, I cannot believe I have to buy one more thing. I cannot believe, right? I need one more, but it's astonishing, like how many things you need, how many people you need, how many resources you need. We're lucky because we don't traditionally have the overhead costs associated with truly starting a restaurant or a retail store. We don't, we can run pretty lean and mean, but please don't let that believe that you don't have to invest in your business. The biggest investment I make every year is in myself. Do you find that to be true? I spend more money in elevating my skills, my knowledge, my mindset, than I think almost anything else.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the choking point. So I have to.
You are actually. It's the smarter you get about that, the easier all of this becomes. Okay, so we know 80% drop off in that first 2 years. Okay, so how about in 5 years? How many people that made it through that 80% actually make it into 5 years of business? So if you make it that first 2 years, how many make it all the way to the fifth year?
20%?
Good guess. Good guess. It's a little bit higher than that. I think
Oh,
those
good.
first couple of years, if you can hang on and go through all the iterations that need to happen to get to that first level, we're seeing 56% of those business owners that will continue on into their fifth year.
Wow.
So buckle in, year 1 and 2, crazy hard. So this strategy today, and listen, for me, here's my history. I, again, left, well, was booted out of corporate in 2008. And I started what I would call my side hustle. I would call it that today. That is absolutely not what I would have told you happened then. But from 2009 to 2017, I was, I had something going on. I would not call it a business. It was 2000, the start of 2000, end of 2017, start of 2018, that I literally got my LLC, put my flag in the ground, and went out to the world and said, I own MXID Consulting Corporation. And so I am officially at the 5-year mark. So celebrate with me, because
Yay.
I made the 80%, right? Then I made the next big cut of people that normally don't make it all the way to this point. And the question that I asked myself sometimes, and I'll ask you as well, is, am I just a lucky one?
Yeah, and for me, knowing you, being part, seeing you during your journey, I know you have worked so hard to continue to level up and level up. And just even like the past few months, I'm like, holy cow, it seems like a whole new Susan. So I know that answer is no, it is not luck.
Yes. And this is the thing that I want everybody to know. So everyone can be as lucky as me. This is all you need to do to be as lucky as me, is to put yourself in a place where you can take the required action that positions yourself to receive it. And I'm just going to say it again. Luck is what happens for you when you take the action required to position yourself to receive it. So everyone, even down to the people that win the lottery, you had to take the actual action of going to the store, putting your money on it, and rolling the dice. So if you want to be as lucky as me, you have to just take continuous action. And this is what the training is going to be about today, is the biggest thing that contributes to long-term sustainable growth is this: meaningful connections. Meaningful
I love it.
connections all day long. All day long. I know in the beginning, we need to figure out how to make money, and we need to do that pretty quickly. And there's lots of people that can teach you how to do that. This is in addition to that. It is actually the people that you meet, that you connect with, that almost don't always buy from you. But what I find that happens over and over again is that they end up opening the door for you to somebody that will, to that future sale. And in the beginning, this is again why I think the 2-year time mark is so pivotal, is because it does take 2 years to build an active pipeline where you have people coming through every single stage of the funnel. And
I think that's a huge point. Again, sorry to keep
yeah.
interrupting, because you're making
No,
so many
please do.
so many mega points, and that is so true. There really is a massive lag time between when you're marketing yourself, you're making connections, and when business will show up. So business really is hanging on till you get that pipeline flowing through. So
Geez,
great
I'm sorry if
point.
I'm sharing all my crazy things. Like, here's a funnel I just made for my team. And this, it's a 2-year process to get this dropping sales on a regular basis. And it does really start with how many people can get to know you, your products, and your services, that eventually you can figure out who are your clients, that if you stay in front of them long enough, when they are finally ready to buy from you, you will make sales. That is the process. And it does start with the need to make a tremendous amount of, new connections. And where I think this is where, you're going to be extra lucky when you're a coach or a consultant, because you have something spectacular to offer. Do you know what everyone has to offer, Jay, that is a coach and a consultant? They have their own expertise, that thing that they've cultivated 4, they probably went to school for it. They've probably been doing it for a living, right? They've probably perfected it. They probably know all the ins and outs, and they are now at that 90 percentile, which is, far above most average people. Oh, David, you didn't see the funnel? I thought I was sharing it. Hold on, let me show it to you really quick. That is far above most people. So you have valuable information that people want. That's why making connections for you is such a no-brainer thing to do. And I want to teach you how to use your expertise today to be able to do that. Can you see the graphic now?
Yes, we can see that. So yeah, can you walk us through this?
Yeah, let me walk you just through this. I just made this for my own team because we love visuals. Visuals make things easier to understand. And like stuck all the time. And if you're not tracking where you are, then you can't figure out where the bottleneck is. So, we weren't seeing enough of the deals fall through, but we had all this activity happening. So if you go through a typical sales funnel, it takes a whole lot of new connections. And remember, these new connections are not people that you're selling to. These are just people that you want to create goodwill with, people that you want to know your name. The more people that know you and what you do, even if they never ever buy from you, right, are more likely, if they've had a great experience with you, to tell other people about you. Jay and I, this is how we ended up on this call. We're kind of sharing each other's audiences. We're providing value and service to each one. This is all born out of connections that were made. Then you need to get really good at figuring out who your people are. So you're not for everyone. And that's all I'm going to say about that today. This is a good sales conversation. And then
very important one.
What's that?
That's a very important one. I always say, even for a legal perspective, it's good to make sure you're dealing with the right customers.
The right customer, yeah. And the numbers are sort of nuts, right? So let's say you meet 100 people, maybe 5% of them are actually people you could sell to. And at some point, 2% of them are going to be actively ready to buy. So again, like that 2-year thing is so real because it just takes a long time to build this funnel. And in corporations, this funnel is 3 years, literally 3 years. From the time you're nurturing a new connection till they make some sort of purchase from you could easily be 3 years. In the online space, sometimes it's a little bit quicker, but we see people have to go through a couple of cycles of meeting you and connecting with you and understanding what they do before they actually pull the trigger and make the decision that you are the one to work for them. So this really helped us figure out where education played a role. And it plays a big role here in New Connections, which is what we're going to talk about today. And it is also a great way to nurture relationships, which is how you keep top of mind while people just maybe aren't ready for you yet. So I'm glad you called that out because it's a great graphic. We just made that. All right. So I want to talk to you about how you can use your expertise to make connections. And I'm going to do that by sharing 3 stories, my own and 2 really exciting people that you can go look up for yourself, and you can find some of these stories too. So there's 3 ways you can use your expertise, your information, to create some sort of like immediate transformation in someone else. And Jay, you said it earlier, it can simply be that you showed me something I never knew before, right? That graphic right there, if I just gave you something that you never knew before, you're like, oh, she's pretty awesome. Thank you for that, right? Like that's it all day long. That's what we're looking to do. Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Oh, she's great. She's great. Oh, she's a genius, right? You start hearing people talk about you that way because you're simply, right, giving them the things that are so inherent to you, but most people actually don't know. I think that's the hardest part about this. So let me give you a great example. So the first one, in a way in which you could use it, is to make yourself invaluable to people that are 2 or 3 or 4 steps ahead of you. And there's
that's good.
A great sales guy, right? Because listen, it's meaningful connections. They're probably not going to buy from you. They're advanced, but they're influential. They're powerful. And if they have a good relationship with you, they will connect you to other people. Nobody I find this to be true, Jay. I hope you've had this experience too, that people that are ahead of the curve, if they're good, solid people, they're turning around all day long and pulling people along with them. They're thrilled to do it. But you've got to be someone that they want to stake their reputation on, right? So Grant Cardone,
Right.
look this up. I meant to bring this link, and you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'll share it with you. You can look for Susan Gaddy on LinkedIn. But Grant Cardone was on Kelly Roach's Unstoppable Entrepreneur podcast. That's where I heard this. So there's always an inspiration for everything. And he had this program that he did called Undercover Billionaire. I don't know if anybody remembered this. So Grant Cardone is one of the few people in our industry to cross the billion mark. That's billion with a B. That's a big deal. Say what you will about him. Yeah. Like him, don't like him. I don't care. That's a guy you want to follow and learn from, because he clearly knows something the rest of us don't, right? So
Exactly.
he's crossed that mark, and he did this TV show where they dropped him in like some city in the middle of USA. They took his name, they took his money, and they took his influence. All the things that we say people are so lucky that they have, right? And they gave him a small amount of money, and he needed to go see if he could become a millionaire again in this environment, without his name, without his credentials, without everything. And here was the thing he said, this is the first thing I did. I went and I met the most influential people in town, and I figured out how I could help them out. And he cut out months and months and months of trying to get one person at a time to get to know you, right? So that's the first thing that you can do with a piece of your expertise. How does it help somebody else? When I was in my side hustle, I didn't have any interest in like developing my own business. So I connected myself to a really well-known I actually connected myself to a bunch of really well-known consultants that needed somebody like me who could do all of the content design behind the scenes. I didn't need to be the front person, but because my content was so good, I made them look great. So they were thrilled to give me work. Win-win relationship, right? That exposure helped me to build my business. I didn't even know I was doing it at the time. It just helped me to build my business. It was just being good at what I did, creating content, right? So that's the first thing you can do. I love that. Listen
Great
to
tip.
that story. It's very inspirational. The other one I'm going to tell you is to be available when others need you. And this is an example, right? Jay, how can I help you? How can we help each other? Let's connect our audiences and give something really meaningful. There's a woman by the name of Jennifer Lima, and I might have the last name wrong, but she's the founder of IT Cosmetics, which, by the way, she grew with no cosmetics industry experience from her kitchen table with her husband. Just recently, a couple of years ago, it was bought out by L'Oreal, also to the tune of $1 billion something.
Wow.
So she's one of the only female entrepreneurs in that space to cross over to that massive amount of level. She has a book called Believe It. It's so amazing because she couldn't have faced any more setbacks. She could have quit 17 times over. The story is crazy, but here's the thing that stuck out to me from her. So in order to become known for her makeup line, which was non-existent, she had to get in front of thousands and thousands of people that would buy. Where do you do that? QVC. So if you're familiar with QVC is like an online, sales distribution, and it has to run 24 hours, 7 days a week. So she wrote this story about how when it would snow, she would get in a car and she would she lived in North Jersey, drive all the way down to Westchester to stay in a hotel right next to QVC, so that if one of the on-air talent couldn't make it because of the weather, she's like, I'm here, I'll fill in for you. Now, read the book, but there were so many times they didn't need her, right? It was a waste. It was a waste of my time, right? How many times we feel like, what a waste. I can't believe this. I can't believe that. She did it over and over again, but QVC was how she became known and crossed over massive, income levels that ultimately led her to be able to sell to a company like L'Oreal. So again, you've got your expertise. Who are the bigger people that you can do something for? who are the companies or other people that you can support in some way, right? How can you be of service to them? And then my favorite, and this is what I would like to be known for, hopefully I'll become known for as I continue to do this, is what's the one thing you could tell somebody that would just blow their mind? The one thing they just didn't know that you could tell somebody that would blow their mind, and that when you taught them how to do it, they would get an immediate result. And every single one of us as a entrepreneur has that ability, because we have a genius so detailed, right? So cultivated, so crafted, that we absolutely know things that 90% of the population does not know. So Jay, I'm curious, is anything coming to mind of these three? Are you already using any of them? Or are you, is something like jumped out at you hearing all three of these?
I definitely, I guess I was very lucky in that I tried early on to help the people who are like 3 or 4 steps ahead. And that has been hugely helpful for us in terms of being able to grow faster and make more connections. So that one, I could speak from experience. That is absolutely true. And then, yeah, I like being available to help people. That is that. I guess that one's natural for me. I never thought of that as a strategy, but that's great. And then I'm now thinking, boy, I really need to think of what is my one thing that could really blow everybody's mind.
Yeah. What is that one thing? What is that one thing that if I told people and showed them how to get a result, right, because of
Mhm.
it, that they would literally be like, God, that guy's a genius. Right? It's genius.
Exactly.
And here's what's so funny about this is it sounds like this simple no-brainer idea, but it's actually incredibly hard. And I want to share 3 reasons why that happens. And then I want to, at the end of our time, I'm going to take you through a real simple activity to get you started on that. And I have a great resource that I share with anyone that would like it. So I'll put the link to download the guide and do some of this work on your own, because even though it's a no-brainer, simple idea, it's actually quite complicated. And the first reason is this: most training people do actually doesn't get anyone a result. So if it doesn't hold up a mirror and show me something I didn't know before, if it doesn't make something easier, quicker, faster, simpler, right? Those are all results. Give me confidence, any of those things, it's not valuable. That's probably the number one, right? It's just most training out there is it's just not that valuable. People say, oh, it was nice. No, oh, okay, I learned something, right? But did it change me in some way,
And
even at the smallest molecular level? Have you
and
experienced that? Yeah.
I think what you just said there is so huge for anybody looking to design their programs. I love that. So faster, cheaper,
Faster, simpler,
simpler.
easier,
Yeah.
right? Stuck. Where are people stuck is a fabulous one. Where are people stuck? It's like the whole reason we did that funnel. Like where were we stuck? Right? We knew it. We knew we weren't making sales, but I didn't know why. Right? We knew we weren't, achieving the level of results we wanted, but I didn't really know why. I had to get the data. I had to, and sometimes you can't even do that for yourself. Jay mentioned the fact that he sees like this massive shift for me in my content and how I'm shopping online. It's not an accident. I didn't know how to do that, right? I would have done this 2 years ago if I knew what to do. I'm working with an exceptionally good coach on how do you get good at creating magnetic, attractive content. And where are you the problem? Because I'm the problem. So a lot of times you can't figure it out for yourself. It has to be someone else that shows you.
Uh,
And I think the other one is the other one, and these kind of all go in tandem, right? So no result is a problem, right? It's too complicated, right? Remember, people want to meet you, but not really that much. So you only have a couple of minutes to kind of make this impact. You don't really have, copious amounts of time. And the other big problem is that you're talking in solutions and they're living in struggle, and they don't meet the two things. the two things don't meet. If I knew what the solution was, I wouldn't need it. Does that make sense? So I don't know how old everybody is, but I'm going to go with the Garanimals suggestion because it really resonated with me when I figured this out. So when I was little growing up, there was a clothing line called Garanimals. And if the shirts had an animal on them and the shorts had an animal on them. And if you found the tiger shirt with the tiger pant, you were confident that you had a outfit that worked. And in my house, we weren't really fancy people and none of us really had that much style. So we needed help in this department. It was so freaking easy. Just match the hippo to the hippo. This is how I feel about getting really good at matching your solutions to what people are saying they either want or they struggle with. Either one, doesn't matter to me. Some people are very passionate about one versus the other. They both work. It really is more, how do you want to show up? You want to show up, in somebody's pain, you want to show up in what they desire. Either way is fine for me. But if I tell you, oh, I'm going to teach you to write the best training possible, there's not a single person I work with that thinks there's anything wrong with their training. Ever. As a matter of fact, most training is awful and people still tell me, oh, my training's fine. That's not a problem. So if I'm trying to think that I'm going to be helpful to them, but they don't even think it's a problem, huge mismatch, right? Huge mismatch. But when I say things like, how confident are you that, 3 modules is the right number? They'll say to me, not at all. I have no idea. I don't know. I just picked a bunch of modules. Oh, okay. What if I showed you a little process for how to pick the right modules? Would you like that? Oh yeah, show that to me. Completely different conversation, completely different conversation. So we have to get, exponentially good, which is the activity. I'm going to teach you how to do that. Because Jay, I think like you, like everybody else, first of all, we think it has to be something ginormous, but remember, you're the expert. So it's very hard for you to not be an expert. You're completely assimilated is the word I like to use. So you've really lost, the perspective of what it was that helps people. And I'm going to use Jay as an example because Jay actually helped me very, very much. And I end up recommending him all the time because he did make a really big impact for me. I came to Jay because I needed an attorney who was going to trademark my name for my training methodology. And I had my name all picked out and I was all ready to go. And I didn't come to Jay for help with the name, but I came to Jay and said, I want to trademark this. And he said, great, we're going to go through these 3 steps because I want to make sure that you're really solid, with your name. And we got to step 2 and I was like, oh, I got a problem. Jay, I got a huge problem. I'm like, my name doesn't work. My name doesn't work. It was too generic. I thought that was a good thing. It wasn't. So Jay, very easily helped me through this process. And on the spot, I think we did it literally in the moment, didn't we? We completely renamed. And I came out with a brand new name that I had never even considered using. I think that's a pretty fair assessment.
So I feel like it was in you and just needed help getting it out.
I didn't know I needed a different name, right? So even if so listen, I was already a paid client and Jay did, that was a deeper level of work. That's not really a free training, but is there a nugget in there, right? If you said to me, this is what I want people to do. And I'm going to show this to you. Let me see if I can put it up on the screen really quick. I'm going to show you how you go about figuring this out. And then, like I said, I'm going to give you a little link. If you want to download this guide for yourself, download the whole guide. It's yours to have. This is something that we share.
Awesome. And I'll make sure one of us will drop the link so you can get this.
Yes, I have it. You know what? As a matter of fact, let me not do that to you because Lord knows what is behind door number 3 over there. I
was so excited when Susan said you'll have free training. So this is great, everybody.
Yeah.
I really don't know anybody better than Susan at this stuff.
Thank you. That is so, so kind. Okay. I'm going to drop this in the link and you can feel free to add this to the Facebook group too. Here we go.
I say what
And
I
then,
really love about what you're teaching here is not only is this going to help us better serve our clients, but it also, I think in many ways, will make us better at selling and attracting clients. So it's just this win-win
the
in both
whole
ways.
thing, it's everything. Yes. Like, one of my missions is that, growing up in business, when I was with Commerce University right out of my teacher job, right? It's my first business job, and it was an amazing company. But in that company and everyone after, training was like the behind the scenes support that wasn't supposed to be seen, right? We definitely weren't a business driver, and I feel like that was a huge miss. And that over the years, I mean, this, we're going 20 years ago, over the years, training has come a long way, and it's just part of my mission to continue to make it even better. But training is one of the most influential things you can do as a business owner, in addition to like training your employees, right? So, all right, let me go back to sharing this. If you put your information in there, we will get the link out to you, but for now we can do it this way. So this is what you have to do. I almost believe you can't even figure this out for yourself. I think what you should do is put together a list of 3 to 5 ideal clients who you worked with in the past and go interview them. This is the first step in anything we do from a training perspective. It can't be your perspective alone. It has to be the perspective of the end user, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What you think you've done for someone is probably not what they think. And the only thing that matters is their perspective, because that's the person you need to be able to influence. These are the 2 questions I ask. You can do this literally in 10 minutes. You don't need to make a big, sometimes we go and do 25 questions and we create a survey and we make this so hard. Literally, sometimes I do it as a voice memo and I ask people this question and they just respond as a voice memo. What's the simplest thing that I shared with you that had an immediate and lasting impact on you? What was the change it created or the relief that it gave you? That's the second part that you want. So this is the best first question that nobody asks from your perspective, right? What did I do that had a lasting impact? And then even more importantly, what was the change that it created or the relief that it gave you? Because those are the words that your people are experiencing. When I met my first mindset coach, so when I decided in 2018 to put my flag in the sand. Now, mind you, I had been running a business for many years and successfully making money, no problems. But the second I up-leveled myself and said, I am now the CEO of MXID Consulting, I literally fell apart. I did not have any sort of internal mental construct that went along with me viewing myself as a CEO. I didn't have those words. That's not what I said at the time. What I said at the time was, I can't sleep at night. Every single day I have to wake up and I have to stuff myself into the suit and I have to put on my game face and I have to get myself out there and I have to go make this happen. Like, those are the things that I was saying. I didn't know it was because I didn't believe in myself. And if you would have told me the reason was I didn't believe in myself, I would have said, oh, you're crazy. You don't even know what you're talking about. Right?
Exactly.
So you got to lead people there. So luckily for me, that coach was really smart and she knew her clients so well that is what they said when they needed me. That's what your clients will do for you. What did they say? What was happening for them when they needed you? And sometimes it's the pain, right? So I was in pain, but this coach that I'm working with right now, I wanted something that I didn't quite know how to access. I wasn't in pain. I just knew there was something else that I wanted to access, but I didn't know how to do that. This coach was very good about talking about for people who want more, people who are ready to show up, people that are stalled in the process. Like, she was saying all of the things that I was thinking in my head, not an accident. Success is not an accident.
And again, I should pause you because this is such an important point that you're making. If you're going to be able to attract clients, you have to be able to speak their language. And that language is, what are they actually saying to themselves in their head? What is their actual experience? And it's not the technical terms that you as a professional or, as an experienced person might have to label those things. It is, what are they actually saying? So that's such a great point.
Yeah. So, and I'll say one other thing. So I teach, so I do a lot of teaching in, corporate America around how do you show up as a training professional to the CEO board meeting, right? And that's the first thing I was like, you got to stop talking about adult learning theory and needs analysis. I'm like, they don't care about that at all. It doesn't make any sense to them. You're not impressing them. They don't care.
Eyes glazed over.
They're like, just go sit over there. We don't want to hear from you. Time is money and you're wasting our time. So like same thing, it shows up everywhere. And honestly, I think it's like that. It's just one of those lessons that you might have to beat your head against the wall a couple of times, right? Don't expect to nail this on the first try. This is what I say to myself, and feel free to use this. Susan, just make the first version that I can tweak 2 more times. Otherwise, I'll spend so much time perfecting something that I don't even know works. So all the time, what's the first version I can get out the door? Sometimes it goes out with spelling mistakes, and I had to like make peace with that. Am I proud of my spelling mistakes? No, but correcting my spelling or making sure my spelling was finished was not as important as making sure that what I was working on was valuable use of my time. Big difference, right? Big difference.
You were
All
getting
right.
things done. You were moving forward.
Get it? Yeah, get it. Sometimes you just got to get it done, and you got to just be okay that it's not perfect. For me, spelling was one of those things that I just struggle with anyway. And, anyway, so I don't want
I'm
to,
with you. It's not you. It's the system
yeah,
that came up with those rules.
hire people that are really good at that. That's all I can say. Don't spend your time there, right? So based on the results, now you can write your framework. Everything needs a framework. So when I said or did, I released or resolved, and because of that, they were able to take the action. And that is the start of your training. And I'll leave you, and I'm happy to, if you want to talk through something, Jay, David, I see you online. Anybody that's in the group that might be watching this later, if you want to jump in with an idea and you want us to help you coach you through, I'd be more than happy to do that. We have a couple of minutes left, but I will leave you with like the thing that, so I have a bunch of different things at this point, but the thing that got me someplace to begin with, especially on the business consulting side, was so my ideal audience are expanding businesses that are a little bit more in the professional services industry. And I tend to work with people that have been at this probably longer than most. So they're not necessarily savvy online. And a lot of times they've never even needed to have an online presence. Now, I grew up online in my business, so that is second nature to me. So you know how I actually got really well known in one of the networking groups that I belong to, and I get referrals from this group like there's no tomorrow. They think I'm a genius, and it's not even my expertise, but I taught them how to set up a LinkedIn profile. I gave them 6 steps. I do a nice little training. I show them a couple of little tricks, and it brings down the house. And I smile because before that, I made 17 other things that were so complicated and so confusing and never got me anything. And this one teeny tiny little thing that pulled the thorn out of somebody's paw and made them their life easier and told them something they didn't know has gone on to become one of the biggest referral strategies I've ever used in my life, to the point that I just had one person from this networking group make 2 connections to me that will probably be $100,000 plus contracts on the corporate side, like totally different from the entrepreneur side. And simply because I taught this guy how to set up an online LinkedIn profile. Right? Like you can't even make it up sometimes.
Yeah, I would never have guessed.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it's not even what I do. Right? But I figured out the only reason I knew that is because as I got to really know my client, I'm like, there was a common denominator. I'm like, none of them know how to use LinkedIn. Nobody. And you know what? They don't even have a profile and they're scared to death to post. I'm like, I can help this. I honestly believed that I could help them, because in this day and age, I believe that you can't be the most successful business owner you can be without an online presence, some presence. You don't have to post every day. You don't have to tell all your stories. You know, you don't have to do all of that. But you know, there's a concept called download in a day. And when somebody meets you, if it's at a networking event, anywhere else, they want to go and consume things about you. So you have to at least have some presence that has some basic information that they can find out a little bit more about you. We know that that's kind of a huge barrier. Like people want to check you out online before they get on a call with you, before they'll make, you know, sort of any sort of purchase. So if you're not there, it's a real, you know, detriment to your business. So that one little teeny tiny little thing opened up such a wide lane for me over there. It's amazing.
Oh, that's such a great example. Just think differently and be willing to go a little bit outside your lane just to show you're an expert.
Yep. It's all about who are your people and what do they need? And sometimes I would tell you, it doesn't even need to be you that does it, right? Maybe you don't even do it, you know, but maybe a partner does. Or maybe you create some sort of relationship for this where you're doing, you know, reciprocal things like that. Hugely, hugely powerful. So what do you think? I have just a couple of minutes left. Jay, is there anything you want to talk through? Dave, anything you want to talk through?
Yeah, David, would you like to ask questions? David's been, well, if it's okay, David, you're fine with me sharing a little bit about yourself and then you can ask some questions. Or feel free to jump in and ask questions.
There we go. Yeah. No, what you're saying really resonates as far as, you know, solving a pain or identifying a gain, right? And so I think that's really the key to finding this point of success, right? I mean, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I completely resonate, and I'm not sure that that it's an easy thing to do. So your questionnaire, that first page, I think is really wonderful in validating your audience and your product.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thank you for that. I'll probably plagiarize that heavily if I may.
It's yours to use. Like I said, when I figure out things that work for me, my goal is always, you know, you don't make it in business for 5 years without, you know, without being helped. And when you're finally in a position where you can be the one helping, it's an honor and a privilege. So I use it, share it, you know, put it out in the world. It is such a simple thing. And everything for me, it always goes back to training as a business driver. You know, educational marketing strategies are probably the most underutilized resource out there. And honestly, I don't even know that that's a word. I made it up myself. Maybe it exists. I don't know. But here's a little crazy tip behind the scene on this is that when you do something like this and you give someone an immediate result, as simple as it may be, you develop very good reciprocity with them. And when it literally changes your email open rates. So when I run a free workshop or even a $49 workshop or something small like that, that is really quality, right? It's not me selling, it's me servicing. The follow-up series, behind the scenes disclosure, is where I sell. I sell opportunities to go deeper with me. And those open rates go from, now I get pretty good open rates. I get about 30-35% open rates. It's pretty good for open rates. But after a workshop experience like that, where I've really delivered big time, and I don't sell, and I do the follow-up cadence, I get 75 to 100% open rates. How crazy is that?
Wow.
And they're so receptive to it, right? And then it's like the no-brainer offer. Hey, did this work for you? Do you want to go a little bit deeper? Here's how you can, you know, get even better at this, or take the next step with us, or, you know, it's an offer to the right person. And if it's at the right time and they believe that's going to do something for them, that's what we're seeing success with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you're doing such I think a great mission in the coaching space, because I touch on maybe just a little bit, but you know, something that I think a lot of coaches, a sign that they might really need to speak to you would be, maybe you should say, like, what might be a sign when a coach should really reach out to you and benefit from your help?
So it depends. If you are, so if you're just getting started with, so if you've been running a one-to-one successful practice and you've had enough people that you've gotten some proven results and you're ready to scale that model, right? Which means you're going to do some sort of group training. You know, you can cut out a lot of wasted time and confusion and starting over because we have the process for that. So we have a very simple, just like this, it's 4 steps. We get right to the heart of what it is you're offering, who it's for, what is the result you're going to get them, how do you organize that so you can do it in scale. And then we get you right into creating high quality content. Again, everybody thinks they know how to create training content, but the majority of it, even the really good coaches, like it's really not good. It's just not good.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, but it's true. So we help them to, not only create really good content that people will actually consume, because here's a crazy statistic. And this is even true of like the majority of like big name coaches, but about 93% of your recorded content goes unviewed. So all that time, all that money, all that value you think you're giving is so overwhelming to people, they just don't even bother. So we change that, like we fix that,
And how does that translate also in terms of customer satisfaction?
Yeah, so that's a big metric. That's one of the things. So if you're more advanced and you're already running a training program and you're like, okay, now how do we make this even better? That's where we get into, so what are you measuring? Because mostly they're not. They're not. So, and here's what's crazy is that there's a pretty predictable bell curve of who actually achieve results in a program. And unfortunately, the general number is about 10%. Now, those 10% get some pretty good wins. So we have lots of good stories and messages and proof, and we know our concept works, so we feel really good about it. But as you start to really expand that, the holes show up, because listen, if you're serving 5 people and you get 2 or 3 people results, great. But now if you're serving 100 people and you get 10 people results and 90% aren't achieving that goal, this is where, and this is sort of like the dirty little secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
People hate they hate their programs. They're like, can't stand their participants. There's so much complaining. They're like, Susan, I can't believe they're asking for their money back. Like, this is a nightmare. And they feel really stuck because you can't actually come out, right, and say that. Where are you going to say that? Who's going to even understand that? And what we find is what we actually help them do is define a metric that they want to benchmark against. And there's 5 or 6 different ones. There isn't a right or wrong one, but it's the one for you. And then we restructure your content so that there's a predictable, achievable path that the majority of the people can actually take. And then we help you figure out, what's the blocks. So are they what we call will or skill? And we teach you how to become a really good advisor that can solve will and skill issues. And then all of a sudden your success rates completely change, which means your income goes up, your money goes up, all the good things.
Your need for a lawyer goes down.
Truly. I mean, who's calling for the lawyer is the person that you promised, I can help you do XYZ. And they're like, that didn't happen for me. They want their money back. They're not happy.
Yeah, I just loved, I don't sound like a broken record, but this is why I just love so much what you do, because I think you fix one of the biggest problems in the coaching industry, and really can be there to help so many coaches, right? Even at design phase, or if it's taking your coaching program to the next level. And at some point, everybody needs to meet with Susan and have their program.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And you know what? It's even hard to, it's even hard to recognize that there's an issue. Right? Because here's the thing, I'll leave you with this. This is what I hear all the time. This is how I know the client needs me. They need me, but I know they need me when they say, I don't get it, Susan. I told them what to do. Why don't they just do it? It's so easy. Literally. That's what they say all the time. I don't get it. I told them what to do. Why don't they just do it? All the materials are there. I told them what to do. Why aren't they just doing it?
It's their fault.
It's their fault, but not like they're literally betwixt and between by this, because you have to always remember it's not rocket science to you. But to 90% of the population, they're like, I'm sorry, what step? Right? They're like, they're like, oh, I can't do that. Or they're like, I tried it, it didn't work. Right? This is what like it is so hard for the expert to truly understand that it is rocket science to other people. And what we help bigger people do is to how simple, like it's a simplification process. Like, is there an actual process? Are there steps? Are there 10 steps? Can we make it 2? Right? Like, how much can we take out? How much can we reduce? How, like, when I look at a coach's database, they'll have like 45 minutes to an hour things, right? Nobody's watching that, right? If they're in the moment with you, they'll be in the moment with you. But how do you condense that to its essence and make it 10 minutes? Because somebody will listen to that. So, those are the things that, for the coaching and consulting world, this is how you streamline a program that, if you have those visions of impacting millions, how simple can you make it is the question you should be asking yourself. So Jay, I can't thank you enough. I am super happy to, I would truly love to meet anyone that's listening or watching this. You can always find me on Instagram, Facebook, Susan Gaddy, MXID Consulting is the actual consulting company, and get your hands on that document and really call your old customers. They're going to be the ones that lead you to, whatever your solution is that will make your training piece and you unforgettable, which is kind of the name of the game, right? You want to be Jay. He's the attorney guy. You got to meet this guy, right? I don't care what people call me, right? Training girl, they call me all kinds of things, but call me that when you're like that guy, that girl, that person, that's when, that's your next level of growth in your business.
Thank you so much, Susan. That was
Yeah.
amazing. And so much value. I think people need to go back and watch this like 3 or 4 times just to get all the incredible value you packed into this hour. And I definitely encourage everybody reach out, connect with Susan. I'm happy to put you in touch if you have difficulty finding her. But yeah, there's not too many Susan Gottis in the world, I think. So
I love it. Thank you, Jay. David, I appreciate you having you along for the journey, and anyone catching on the replay, let me know. What was the biggest value you got out of here, and what can I dump, right? That's always my question. What was worth your time, and how could we make this a half hour and not an hour, right? That's always the question. How do we make, quicker, simpler, easier, bigger impact, faster, how tight can we make it? Thanks,
Great.
everyone. Have a great day. Bye, Jay.
Bye.